way those guys who are missed the link change. So basically the person who did my taxes, my very first time I ventured out, stepped off the curb, got my toes wet. The gentleman ended up having a massive heart attack on tax day and died. So his wife didn't call me and say, hey, my husband died. She just kept doing the draws. And I assumed that my 941 and all my other accounts were being paid. And it wasn't until 18 months later, because she continued to take the draws, that I realized that I was in arrears and I had fines and penalties and all kinds of other things. And then I had a bookkeeper incident where, because at that point I didn't trust anybody, who came into the office, but she actually didn't do any of the things I paid her for. And we had a verification process that time too. So I thought I was doing better. And then I got dinged again by the IRS for not paying my stuff on time. Okay. So I've had a lot of interesting experiences with that. Not every experience is going to be like mine. I just seem to be the one that takes it by the spoonful.
Doing a live.
Okay.
That's always the way it is with the kids, right? I'm hoping that everyone else will be able to hop on here soon. And then since Nicole is here first, we can probably have her ask some questions. But let me give a little background for the rest of you guys who don't know. Andre is actually, and I'm saying your name correctly, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. There's nothing like butchering someone's name and not realizing till the end. Andre is actually a farmer here in America. Yay! And he is a poultry farmer. Yay! And also has a bookkeeping company that he caters to farmers, which is so awesome. And from what I remember, you said you've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years, correct?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. And then you're also a school teacher and you teach
environmental
science. And you're in a real job?
Yeah.
So he also teaches high schoolers how to the beginning steps of engineering and all of the other things that go along with teaching that kind of stuff. And he's been generous enough here to join us today to have a Q&A session so that everyone can have their questions answered. Any bookkeeping question, I'm sure that he can, you can throw at him, he can answer for you.
Well, one thing I wanted to say is most people, they think they need a bookkeeper after their business gets successful. They never realize you need to start doing that even before you start your business. Start keeping your records.
Totally. I agree there.
Like, I'll get a bookkeeper later. That's
right.
Or
I'll catch up on my books later. And then, you know, when it's tax time, when they're super duper busy, right? Yeah.
So one of the things we try to teach people is to plan ahead for the taxes. Don't wait till the taxes show up. You know they're coming.
Right. Definitely.
Start planning before that.
Definitely. So what kinds of normal gens do most of your clients ask you?
Most of them trying to figure out how they can not pay taxes in the first place.
Oh, did it freeze? Did it freeze? Oh no.
No, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. So like when you start to look for a bookkeeper, what kind of questions should we be asking?
Well, find out lots of times if it's somebody you can actually get in touch with.
Yes, that's important.
You know, they're like, oh, I call my bookkeeper and he'll call me back next week. So if you need to make a decision on something and you don't know what's going on for a whole week, a lot can happen in a week with your finances, you know?
Right.
And
I think that's important. Or getting your reports. Lots of times you don't get a report for months.
Yeah. So, I mean, do use a lot of people that are monthly reconciliation, but again, they don't want to pay for a weekly service, but you can say, hey, I can do weekly updates. Keep me in the loop of what's going on, because transactions might come in and you don't notice them until it's too late. Another thing people don't realize, your bookkeeper can actually monitor your credit for you. Say, hey, all of a sudden I'm seeing charges on your card for this place I've never seen before. Is this something new? Things like that. And one thing people should try to do too is dedicate specific accounts for certain types of transactions only. That'll help them catch things too along the way. Like for the poultry farm, for instance, we have a credit card dedicated only to purchasing chicks from the hatchery. We don't purchase anything else on that credit card. There's no McDonald's charges. There's no gas. There's nothing on there except strictly for that business. So when you're going through the bank statements every month, if you see something that doesn't belong, you'll catch it because there should only be charges from that one place, you know? And getting
Yeah,
fuel
it's the-
cards.
It's the sneaky charges that come in there that you're like, where is this one and what does it go to?
Yeah,
I
like
like that
you have,
idea.
fuel
Definitely.
people don't take advantage of fuel cards too either. Like I don't know, Circle K. If you know you spend a certain amount of fuel every month, you got a rough idea. Circle K has these pennies add up too. Circle K has it's like a reloadable card.
Uh-huh.
And when you buy the card from them, you pay for the card up front. You load the money on the card every month. But when you go to the pump, it'll take 10 cents off per gallon.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you're already paying for gas. You might as well get paid to do it. You know, see, credit cards is a touchy thing. A lot of people, credit cards, everybody's like, don't get credit cards, don't do credit cards. But if you use your credit cards right, I think last year, I think I made $700 on my credit card.
Oh, wow. Definitely want to hear about that.
You take advantage, like I use a farm a lot for an example. Like we float, you can float the transaction. Like I have Tractor Supply for my feed.
Mhm.
And I always choose they have two choices when you at the register. When you buy yourself, you can either do 0% interest for 6 months or 5% back. Now the 5% back you get at the end of the month as long as you pay off your whole bill. Well, we know we're going to spend that money anyways on feed, so we've already budgeted to spend that money. But if we buy the feed in cash, we don't get any money back for that. So if I spend $4,000 on feed this month, I'm getting 5% of that back because I've already got the money to pay for it. You know what I mean?
I never really thought, I gave that a lot of thought. That's actually a great idea.
Everybody says cash is king, but cash actually ends up costing you money sometimes. Depends on what you're buying.
With the $4,000, that's what, $200 back?
Yeah, just for spending the money for stuff you're going to buy anyways. You know,
That's awesome.
You're already going to spend that money anyways. You just make sure you hit that 5% back, pay off the bill, and just keep going. And I do the same thing with Walmart too. I have a Walmart credit card. I know I'm going to go buy stuff at Walmart. I'll pay my bill at the cash register at the customer service desk. So by the time I walk out of Walmart, Walmart actually ends up owing me money for buying my stuff because you get 3% back.
I didn't know you could pay your bill at customer service.
Yeah, you go to Walmart customer service and pay your Walmart credit card.
I'm learning all kinds of things. I had no idea.
They pay you to go to the store. And if you use the Walmart app and link your Walmart credit card, that 3% now becomes 5%.
Wow.
You're buying groceries anyways. You're going to eat. You know, you're going to get toilet paper, water. Yeah, you can see what my favorite brand of water is.
That's awesome. I never gave that any thought at all.
Yeah, if you're going to spend the money, get paid to spend your money at least. You know. Anybody got any questions about anything they're curious about? I see you got 3 people in there.
Right. We had like 30 inside the group. There were 30 people on one post, and then there was another 35 on the other. So I was hoping they'd all show up, but then we had a link change. So I'm hoping that they will have checked in and saw what was going on. And then Nicole gave me the idea about, tagging everybody. I try not to use the @everyone because I get that myself, but that was a great idea as well. So thank you, Nicole. Nicole, do you have any, or Yanessa, do you have any questions for Andre? In regard, no one's talking? I know Nicole said she was driving, so she might not be able to do that.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about the chart of accounts. There are some basic ones that I cover in the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy. And there's the normal like cleaning and, gear, janitorial should be a lot of the questions that people ask in the account in the group is, how do I start to allocate? How much am I supposed to pay or allocate to payment of taxes? And it's standard in the industry to assume that it's going to be 20%, but everyone's tax situation is a little bit different. We all have kids or, other things going on. So it really does come down to your structure, but how much should someone allocate for taxes their very first year in business? Should it be 10%? Should it be 20%? Is it 15%?
The more you can put aside, the better. But one thing that you do, if you do put it aside, like try to put it in a high yield savings account while you're waiting to pay your taxes. Because this way you can earn some money on your money while you're waiting to pay the bill. So I think right now Capital One is paying almost 4% interest on their savings accounts. And there's no penalty to pull the money out versus like you put in a CD. But you can put it in a 1-year CD if you had the money, but you can put the money every month in there. So if every month you get paid, let's say you make $1, take out 20 cents and put it away. It's better to overestimate how much money you're going to need than underestimate how much money you're going to need.
Right.
And then as it's sitting,
go ahead.
And as it's sitting in that high yield savings account, you're earning money on it until it's time to pay your taxes.
That's a great idea. We're just starting to see, because the end of the year happened, so a new annual year has started, and here comes Estella. That's awesome. So it's this, what do I do now that I've come to the end of the year? How do I start to, start with 2023 on the right foot? So should, hypothetically speaking, and this is a different variable every single time, should it be 10? Should they allocate 10% of what they think they're going to have to pay? Most of them, I encourage everybody that they should make 100K their very first year. If they price it right and they do it the right way, you should easily gross 100K. So if you made 100K, hypothetically speaking, how much should a person allocate to payment of taxes? I know there's percentages if you did traditional payroll and everything, but if you're just solo and you're by yourself, how much should they allocate? Is it 10%, 15%, 20%?
10 to 15% would get you in a safe zone. 20% would put you right over. You would have a little buffer in case of anything. So since people don't spend all their money, the 10 to 15 would be a safe place to be on there.
So that's a nice basis for sure.
And then you want to make sure you keep track of all your expenses so you can get all your deductions. You don't need to use that whole 15%.
Right. And then the 15% you would just allocate back into the general fund. I tell them to take it as profit because of the way the margins work, but yes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. I love that. That'll give a lot of people some reassurance. And then what are some normal deductions? I mean, I've given them some, basic stuff, like your cell phone, your home office, a portion of your internet, if you have a car payment. A lot of questions have been asked, and I only have had this happen this last year, is I had a gentleman who I'm part of in another group, and he was a carpet cleaner, and he got audited. And basically they decided because he didn't have business insurance on his work vehicle, he only had regular insurance, they would not allow him to take all of the mileage that he took. So he had to pay back that deduction. Is that something that you've seen so far this year or in the last year?
No, we tell people it's best to just go ahead and get the business insurance.
Totally.
Because you're spending a lot more time on the road than the average person would.
Right.
Because most people are just driving to and from their job. So their risk is very limited. But if you spend most of your time on the road, the longer you're on the road, you're increasing your risk.
Right.
So you have a greater chance statistically of getting into an accident than somebody that just goes to work and comes home.
Definitely.
And the cost of the extra insurance is not much when you look at the benefit of it. And I know a few people, we set them up when they do set up QuickBooks to make sure they get that QuickBooks app that automatically tracks their mileage.
I love that feature now. I think that's awesome.
They don't even have to think about it. Because when you check off that little box, do you have documentation for your miles? You can go, yes, I do.
I also like the app where the QuickBooks app where you can scan the receipts now and it will load it into your account. Way better than the old school way of having to upload it in there or, keep a separate file and then having to hand put it in. What a pain in the butt that was.
I still have QuickBooks Desktop Pro. where but I have to scan the receipt, but I can attach the receipt to the individual invoices as a PDF.
Oh, wow.
I still have that feature on my QuickBooks.
Yeah, we don't have that in the new one now because I only have the online. I remember the old school of
Yeah.
having to download it onto the computer and everything like
Yeah,
that.
I use QuickBooks Online for my online customers,
Okay,
but then I have a few clients where they don't want to go online. They want you to come to their location and just do the books on their computer. So we offer
gotcha.
that as a service because
So
they don't want to
that's
pay for the online subscription.
so that's considered like a premium service, correct?
Yeah, I'll go to their office or wherever, and we'll work on their QuickBooks file at their location because they've got QuickBooks Pro, the desktop,
Gotcha.
you know. And the features on desktop is, I guess it would be equivalent of like the Premiere version on online. You'd have to pay for the $200 package on the QuickBooks Online for what the desktop does. But if you are
Yeah,
on the road a lot, the online is the best thing to go to.
it does make it easier. There is a convenience. Estella, did you have a question? I saw it was highlighted.
To the sound.
Nope. So I think that's awesome that you still do that. So you cater mostly to farmers, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up a couple of cleaning companies here is what I'm hoping. When someone gets ready to go and see their bookkeeper, oh, did it freeze? Maybe
It's back on. It's back on.
Okay, it's back up. Perfect. I don't know what the deal is with the internet. So when someone gets ready to go, I know there usually is a first initial appointment, and sometimes that's done face to face. More and more with technology, it's more than likely done over Zoom. What should they have to be prepared to go and see their bookkeeper? What kind of documents?
Depending on how far back they want to go. If all the bank statements of the stuff they want to track, or even if they don't have the bank statements, if they do online banking, at least the login information, so you can try to get everything ready. Their business information would be good. Not just show up with a box of receipts.
Okay.
I've got people show up with a box of receipts.
Do you?
I tell them, man, I can charge you to sit here and sort through these papers for you. You know.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. It's as I've been mentioned, I've been audited on many occasions, and I've had to go and backtrack to the bank and pay them extra to find stuff that I no longer had, or it was damaged because I stored it in the wrong location. I've learned to just store. I'm starting to take digital copies of things, but I've learned to store the originals in plastic bins that are waterproof, because I've had a couple of episodes where things got ruined and I had no proof. So then I had to pay again. I'm like, okay, this sucks.
That's why that
QuickBooks. So some basic stuff would be bank statements, business information. What other kind of receipts?
Yeah.
For expenses. What other things might they need for their very first appointment with you or another bookkeeper?
All their business spending accounts, and if they do payroll, so who's getting paid, and if they have, it'd be a good idea to write down they have monthly subscriptions that are coming out of their business account. Things like that, reoccurring transactions. So when you're going through, you can figure out whether these things are something that's useful or not.
Yeah, we talked briefly about subscriptions last time. Can you tell them a little bit about what an audit like for subscriptions would entail with you?
Well, I would look through it to see, like one client I had, she signed up for Uber Eats. I think it was that. I didn't realize that she moved out from that area a year ago, but never remembered to cancel the subscription. But because she has so many transactions coming in every month, like you said, it just kind of buries itself in there. You don't even notice it. So for a year, she was paying for something she was actually using anymore. But they're so small amounts, and by not keeping track of your expenses, it just eats away. I think it's frozen. Hello.
Are you singling me out? I think we're frozen.
I think it's frozen. La, la, la. Anybody still out there in la?
Are we supposed to go out and come back in?
I have no idea.
Exited herself. Hold on.
I guess it's over. Nobody's there. Yeah.
It's amazing to me. People, and this is a societal thing too. When we're children, people, your parents talk to you about sex, right? Don't get pregnant, don't have lots of babies, don't do something irresponsible. But the conversation that really should be happening in addition to that one is, how to handle your finances, what you're doing, and why it's important that you are maintaining your books regardless. I mean, granted, it's not going to be to the penny, even though that is the desire, but it is helpful to realize what's going in and what's coming out, and the Uber Eats is a good example of, we just get busy, and I've done that. I have an iTunes account that I probably haven't used in a year that I need to get rid of. I was just, because when we spoke the other day, I'm like, what subscriptions do I have?
Yep.
But it adds up and it accumulates a year after, and they're banking on the fact that you are not going to be paying attention, and they don't care, right? They've offered you the
They
service. You
don't.
didn't jump on it.
Like clean guru. My friend and I tried it out because we both had to do a contract one time. So we signed up for Clean Guru for their 30-day trial. We did our contract. We sent it out, and we're like, okay, we're going to cancel it. 6 months later, $200 each month. I'm like,
Oh my God.
Where's this money going? Like, what am I paying for? Contracts I don't even use anymore. I had to go cancel it because that's $200 a month for 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
Pay attention to that unless someone is actually if I wasn't looking at that credit card statement because I was doing taxes. I start from October. I start preparing all my tax paperwork from October, so I don't drop a box of receipts and my whole life of mistakes that I've made for the last 12 months in my business on someone else's lap, because I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it in time because it's my neglect. So I try to get from October to December, I get everything in line and prepare everything and zero everything out. So I turn over a clean book to the accountant. And then I start afresh and clean everything back up. I don't think Andre's back in here yet.
Nope. I don't know what happened. That was weird. Normally it's like a bump or two, but it's not, it throws everyone off, and yeah, we all have to start again. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Starting in October, I've gotten better over the years. There's been years I'm guilty. I'm the person who, who handed the box of receipts over. I've done it.
I've done it too.
I'm just as guilty as all the others. I'm not saying I'm perfect and that I float across everything. Like the year that my brother passed, I had a horrible year. It was like one thing after the next. The only benefit that happened was that I sold my business and I got a nice premium out of it, but everything else was just a total shit show. And I was
For
just like,
sure.
oh, but no, there's been great years where I'm on top of it, and there's been years like that, and I was just like, ugh. But it's oh, here we go. Here comes Andre. Hopefully the others will hop back on.
Okay.
But yeah, I genuinely believe that there should be some sort of basic. I don't even believe they teach this in school anymore. They used to. I'm dating myself, but you used to have to take a basic accounting or checkbook class, so you kind of understand. Like I remember writing checks. I don't think anybody writes checks anymore, but it's the process of being accountable, seeing what's in your account, and going forward. Hi, Andre, how are you?
I thought everybody left, so I started working.
Oh, sorry, we were just waiting for you to hop back on. We were talking about the Uber Eats. She was telling me that story about that, and I laughed because I would be that person who did that. So basically there are certain things that you need to do to be prepared. She was mentioning that she starts in October right after fourth quarter starts to come into action is when she starts to get prepared and zeroes out her books. And I think that's a good habit to get into. I don't think that anyone takes the time with brand new business owners as we start to, because let's be honest, I don't think traditional employment is going to last forever the way it's going, the way I'm looking at it. There's going to be more and more entrepreneurs, and a lot of them couldn't manage their own finances then. So it's going to be a challenge for them to manage their finances now, especially with all of the ins and outs with credit cards and everything else. Do you, and I have a lot of people ask me this as well. And I'm a cash girl. I try to go as cheaply as I can unless I have it to pay for it. But there's been a lot of people who've asked me about taking out a business loan. Is that something that you would recommend for a small enterprise? Yours is different because you have birds, livestock involved. So I would imagine there's all kinds of things that have to happen to make your business run. But in a traditional sense, for a cleaner, do you recommend a cleaning business owner to take out a loan when they're first starting? People ask me this all the time.
I don't like paying fees.
I don't either.
And I don't like paying interest. And my first business I had a lawn care service when I was 19.
Okay.
And I think the best way to build sometimes is start small and build.
Right.
Because if you're having a certain amount, you don't have a guaranteed income coming in. But if you go dig yourself into a loan right off the bat, you have a guaranteed bill coming in right there every month. So I think the best thing to do from what I've done is I start off small, even with the land service. I had a little push mower. I started in my neighborhood, and eventually we grew with cutting 90 houses a week.
Awesome.
And we had no debt because as the business grew, we slowly like how you allocated money for your taxes, allocate money for expansion. Whether or not you're going to expand, you put aside that money, the expectation that you're going to expand. Same thing with the farm. I started out the farm with 25 chickens. It wasn't even really to go out there and be a big farm. But as we started selling, okay, we took out our feed money and our initial investment and put that aside. This is what we had money every month. So if you looked at, we never actually put aside any more money than the very first money.
Right.
So the $100 we put out for the first set of chickens, we never actually spent any more money, even though we kept buying chickens. We sold those 25, took out the $100, bought another 25 and feed, and just kept repeating that. So every month you sold the 25, you kept the profit, you took the $100 seed money, you kept putting that back in. A funny story is like, I went to college, not because I was trying to get a job, because I was trying to manage my farm better.
Definitely.
And so I got a business degree and accounting and all that because I was trying to manage my own business better, which led to me teaching because now I had a bachelor's. And none of these was because I was trying to work. It's just because I was trying to just not go to work.
I bet you work really hard now. So how many birds do you have now? You started off with 25. You mentioned, what was it, 400? More than that.
There's 300 in a batch. We have 9 chicken houses.
Oh my gosh. So your
So,
neighbors, I'm sure your closest neighbors don't like you.
oh, well, this new farm that we built, it's behind an orange grove, so there's
Oh,
no
okay,
neighbor.
cool.
Our closest neighbor is the train,
Oh, wow.
the Amtrak train when it goes by. That's our closest neighbor. So if you go by at whatever speed that train goes by, you'll smell us on the way out, I guess.
Oh, yeah, in the summertime, I can only imagine. So you must have a side business selling the
The compost,
yes.
well, I do two things with it. Either they pay for it and I bag it up, or if they come and bag it up, it's free. It's worth it more to me, time-wise, to have somebody else come bag it up and give it to them, because I look at the time I spend bagging it.
Right.
It's worth more for somebody else to come. They can spend all day shoveling. I don't care. You know, they can have it for
Be
free.
shoveling shit all day long.
Totally. I believe it. We just started gardening, and we aren't really supposed to have chickens where I am. So I go to my neighbor, and I shovel it up, and the kids are like, oh,
Yeah.
and then we have to get it in the back of the truck, and then without it ripping, right?
Yeah.
So that's
But
awesome.
yeah, but about taking out business loans from the very beginning of your business, it could put you in a lot of trouble if you just jump right in and getting a big loan and you have no way to actually make that money to pay it.
Right.
You know,
Not to mention the fact challenging to get the loan per se, even with good credit, because you have to provide proof of income.
and you're usually digging your personal credit to get that first loan.
Right.
My
That's
grandfather,
definitely-
I grew up in a big commercial farm, and he always told us, if you have to work a job to pay for your farm, you need to stop farming.
It's a
'Cause-
hobby.
Right.
Yeah, you're not a business anymore. If you're working a job to pay your business's bills, your business should be making you an income, not you working to pay your business. you
Right.
know?
And that's very correct. I mean, we're in the cleaning industry.
Right.
We literally have a whatever's underneath your kitchen sink startup cost. That's it. Your startup cost comes from what's underneath your kitchen sink and your bathroom sink. One job at a time.
Right.
Zero startup. Why do you need to take a business loan out to fund your business? It means you haven't really put thought into a business plan to begin your business. You're
Right.
thinking of yourself as a corporation, and I want to become a corporation, but you're a cleaning business. You
They
have
skip-
no overhead, but you trade labor
Mhm.
for money and whatever was underneath the kitchen sink. And you can build a 6-figure cleaning business, like you said, in 12 months. And like Andre said, without a loan.
Right. It's come up, and I just keep going, why do you want a business loan? And they're like, well, I have this opportunity. I'm like, there's no guarantee, even if they sign a year contract with you, that income is going to be there. You can
Mhm.
sign the contract, they can have a breach of contract, you can go to court, but there's no guarantee of it. I always teach everybody to do it cheap. Like, you can go to the thrift store and buy an Oric. Don't buy a $400 vacuum or
Oh,
use
no,
your own vacuum.
my first vacuum came from Goodwill. It
Right.
was those really, really old shop vacs. And I promise you, my back was broken at the end of the day with the little tiny shop vac. And I was vacuuming very expensive rug. And you know how those shag rugs are. You just want to take it and just throw it out the window or burn it or something. Just burn the house down after you leave. That's the experience I had. But I did it. It cost me $5. I cleaned enough houses to put aside extra money so I can buy a proper vacuum. Now I'm at the place where I'll go to Home Depot when they have their Black Friday sale, and I'll pick up 4, 5, 6 of the stick vac now,
Mhm.
because I put aside that money. That is the
Right.
cost of doing business.
Definitely. And I agree. I still have 15 Oryx in my shed that I'm trying to get rid of.
The rotator cuff right here.
Right. It's you have one really strong buffed arm, and then the other one's like firm and toned, but this one's the buffed one. But
You
shag
guys-
can make you sweat.
You
Like,
guys operate a little different in the farms. I always make sure we try to negotiate the best deals on our feed, and we buy them in bulk because they give us 5%, 10% back, you know, and all that adds up for us at the end of the year.
We
Remember I
try
was
to
telling you about the credit card cash back?
Right.
That's what I used to pay for Christmas presents. Whatever I got back in cash back at the end of the year, that's my budget. I'm not using any extra money to pay for anything else.
Well,
So that
this year
means
was really challenging with all of the inflation. I can tell you, Christmas was like, I have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old, and it was 3 times more than the normal amount. But yes, I see where you're definitely going with that, and I think that's a wonderful idea.
So
Well, my
Andre
thing-
taught me something.
What
His
did I teach you?
cashback- with his cashback process. So I built my business on Dave Ramsey. Cash is king and no credit card. So when I met Andre, when we were looking through the books, he's like, you're paying with debit card. Why? You have credit cards. You have interest cash back on your credit cards. Get rid of the bank cards. Start using and treating your credit cards like you do your bank card. The difference is your bank don't give you back money for spending your own money, but the credit cards will give you back money for spending their money. And the thing is that if you go and make a mistake and buy something like a vacuum for our business and something's wrong with it, our bank won't cover it. But our credit card will, because we bought that vacuum with someone else's money, not our money. And at the end of the year, you end up with, let's just say Capital One gives you 1.5%. You get 1.5% back. Well, that's the savings account gives you 3%. Well, now it's 4%. So
I get 3% back on my credit cards.
I get 4% on my savings account, right? With Capital One, just a regular savings account. So I like 20%. That number he said earlier, 20% is safe for me. I take my 20%. If somebody pays me $500 for cleaning their house, that $500, I subtract 20% and it goes straight into the tax account and it sits in the bank. So I automatically get 4% interest off of that. Then the rest of it gets split up into profit, which is very important.
Profit is very important
first. Pay profit first.
Right.
Then business expenses come after that. So it's tax and profit, and then operation expenses, and then payroll. So if you can't take out all the other 3 first and then cover your payroll, then you can't afford to hire nobody. You need to keep grinding, work the rotator cuffs until you can afford to do that. But now I don't use any debit cards. I don't use any cash. I use my credit cards responsibly, like a debit card. I buy it this week. I pay it off on Friday when I get my personal paycheck. And I still also get my interest rate. At the end, I get my cash back and everything else. And I'm not using my money. I'm just using my money to pay the money I borrowed from somebody else.
That's one of the things
It's an interesting concept for sure. Go ahead,
you
Andre.
make sure every Friday, I make a habit of it. Every Friday, I pay my credit card bill. I make a payment. That way, I never have to worry that I missed the pay date and have to worry about, I have never had a late charge on an account that I use.
That's
Because
pretty good.
I don't worry what the payment date is. I don't worry about the due date. Every Friday, I make a payment. And at the end of the billing cycle, I pay off the bill. That way, if I missed it by a day, I don't get hit with a late charge because you've made the minimum payment throughout the month. And at the end of the billing cycle, you just pay off the bill.
Right. That's
So
usually how I do it.
You're not getting hit with an interest charge because then you're not making the money on interest back. You're not getting hit with a late charge or a finance fee. Like I said, Track Supply is one of those. We buy a ridiculous amount of stuff on our card. I think the card only has a $5,000 limit, but we spend way more than that per month on feed. But we just use the same card over and over because we pay it off every week.
Right.
Make sure we don't carry a balance. That's the key part of the whole system with making sure you're making money on your cards is not carrying a balance.
That is
Then
key.
yeah. If you start carrying a balance, then you're in trouble.
yeah, then it starts to accrue. And then when you have to show somebody how compounded interest works, they go, what? And I'm like, let's break this down for you. And then you can, then they're like, oh my God, I've been paying on this thing. I go, it goes back to Jimmy Carter. I was just talking about this morning with somebody else. Jimmy Carter in the 80s relinquished the law that allowed credit card companies to charge whatever there was. They used to only be allowed to charge 7 or 8% interest on the credit cards, but we know how the system works. So the credit card companies and the banks decided that they were no longer going to do that, that they were going to be allowed to charge a more substantial interest rate. And that subsequently is what we pay today. Let's talk a little bit about paychecks, because I get asked a lot about this as well. You mentioned, Adama, that you get paid every Friday. So do you pay yourself as an employee, or do you do a draw?
I do a 1099 for myself.
Okay.
I find 1099 is simpler for the accountants because they get a complete stub of what you've made that entire year that you've paid yourself.
Right.
Now, at the end of the year, if my accountant says that you have extra money in your account, then I'll take the draw out and I'll treat it as a commission for myself. But it all depends on what you plan for with your accountant. Whoever's doing your bookkeeping for you throughout the year, that's a plan. You need to sit down with them and decide how to do those things with them. For example, we have kids that are in college and we are successful business owners. We have elderlies that live with us that have financial obligations on their own, and one person's income affects another person's income. And if, as a business owner, if we don't communicate with our accountant and make plans throughout the year, how what we make will financially affect our lives financially,
Definitely.
with the stuff we have to take, then it's like a crap show at the end. So the answer to that question is it comes back to you and your relationship with your accountant.
Definitely. I've spoken to several people, and they actually, depending on how they're structured, their tax entity, some people actually do a paycheck where they pay into the system, which was convenient if another pandemic were to happen and you had to.
That's one of those things. I agree. So if you're looking that if your business can't sustain yourself, then yeah, you want to be a W-2 employee for your own company. But if you have a profit first business, you have profit in your business to sustain you for 12 months or until you can get yourself together. Then you really don't need to be a W-2 employee. But if you want to buy a house, you need to have a track record of how much you're actually getting paid, your debt to income ratio, and you need proof of that.
Totally. What is it, 931 on your 1040? I can't remember. That's the most important line, right?
Yeah, and you got to think of
income.
You got to think of your income with the person that's doing your business accounts to figure that out, because you don't want to over make money, you don't want to under make money, you don't want to deplete your business account to pay yourself that you can't afford to pay yourself either.
Right.
One of the things that I had to get used to in the United States, I'm from the Caribbean. You guys pay to go to the doctor and the hospital, right? Where I grew up in Guyana, if you go to the public government hospital, you don't pay for it. It's free. If you go to a private hospital, you pay. But one thing I learned with learning how to do taxes is this: if you're somebody that knows you have a certain amount of medical expenses every month that you pay for prescription drugs, or you have a certain amount of money out of pocket you got to pay at Walmart for your vitamins or whatever, and you don't have a regular job, set up an HSA. You can fund your own health savings account. Right. Pay that money into the health. So if you know you're going to spend $100 every month at Walmart to pay for your prescription, don't pay Walmart the $100. Pay your health savings account the $100. Then when you go to the checkout counter, use your health savings credit card or the card that they give you to pay for that. So now at the end of the year, the health savings account will send you a tax form. Now you
Oh,
can
wow.
deduct. Now you can deduct your health. You're going to spend this money on your health care costs anyways.
Right.
You go to the doctor, you have to make your $20 copay or whatever you got to do.
Mhm.
You pay it with your health savings account. Don't pay it out of your checking account.
So I asked him this question.
Okay.
This question was, can I, as house cleaners, chiropractor and massage therapy is very important. Carpal tunnel, rotator cuffs, and hip
Right.
bones go really fast in our industry. Can
Definitely.
we tax write off this? The answer is, how did you answer that? It was one.
You
in
have
one
to.
of the groups. Go ahead.
Well, if you're going to a licensed chiropractor and they accept the HSA card, yeah. And that's how I pay for mine. Like I go to the doctor and they accept the card because the card will reject if it's not a qualified place. If you go to the Walmart checkout counter, for instance, and you bring up a bunch of stuff on the card and you try to swipe the card, the system will reject anything that's not qualified and only take the money out for the qualified expenses.
Interesting.
So you can't go buy Chinese food with it.
Right.
It won't, you understand? It
No,
automatically,
no matter how bad you want it.
yeah, it'll reject the transaction. It won't go through. You'll get denied. You can mix, let's say this bottle qualifies, but this bottle doesn't. The
Mhm.
card will pay for this one and reject this one. And then the cashier will tell you, well, you still have a balance of whatever.
Like
Same thing with
Chateau Elan Spa won't work for massage therapy,
but
but a
joint chiropractor.
chiropractor's massage therapy will work.
It depends on how it's labeled, I guess.
Yes. So
So it
and
depends
then
on where you go.
Definitely.
like he told me, he was like, well, you have a spending bracket that you got to reach a threshold for how much you can qualify for as a deduction.
Mhm.
But what we don't understand as normal human beings that don't speak math like Andre does is we think, oh, well, I'm going to go 3 times a year to the massage therapy to fix my shoulder. But we're supposed to go, the amount we needed to spend was a full service of, let's just say, we need to do 12 service to reach that money cap, right?
Mhm.
That's the best way I know how to explain it. He probably has another word for it. But you got
Gotcha.
to reach that threshold. Let's just say it's $700. You got to reach $700 to spend in medical supplies or life, whatever, to get that deduction, but we spend $400. No, it is not a tax write-off because it really doesn't qualify for anything. But if you spend the $700, now we're
'Cause
talking.
what a lot of people do is they itemize all their deductions, right? And then they realize all their itemized deduction was a complete waste of time because the standard deduction was more.
Yes, you have to kind of know that when you go into, do these receipts look like 7,500? It's
Yeah.
like,
Because you
It's
can
a-
spend all day itemizing a million receipts, and if it this and afterwards is going to say, well, your itemized was $1, but the standard deduction is $1.20. Which one do you want?
right. It's, you got to kind of weigh that out. It's because we're cash people. We pay a lot of things in cash. But yeah,
You
you've
have no
given a lot of really great ideas to benefit from the system. We just didn't think about using the system that way. I mean, it's there, it makes sense why you wouldn't, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and very important for anyone that, in bookkeeping, speak to your tax person, speak to your bookkeeper. They know more about your business than you, or they should know more about your business than you do when
Right.
it comes to taxes. And if they can't tell you, like Andre told me and all his other clients, if they can't tell you that if you're going to go to massage therapy, go to the correct one. If you're going to go to the chiropractor to save your hips, go to the correct one.
Right.
This is the amount of money you need to spend in order for you to get it back in return as a deduction.
One thing people do a lot of times when they pick a bookkeeping service or if a firm, they try to pick these big companies. But I've worked for some big companies who don't realize the accountant is not the one actually doing your books. He's just
No.
signing off on your books. So
Right,
he has no clue. He's looking at that report the same time you are.
right.
He has no clue what your day-to-day stuff is. Is the bookkeepers are the ones that are actually doing all the actual work.
And there's a
record.
huge difference too between like I don't think a lot of people realize this either. There is a big difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant. And there are a couple of you like Andre who do both, but you know, accountants are like meant to keep the tax situation that you're taking advantage of all that stuff. And the bookkeeper is supposed to manage your books. And a lot of people think it's one and the same, but it's two different tasks.
The bookkeeper
Then there's a
prepares
tax
everything.
accountant, and then there's, you know, then you can just layer upon layer upon layer, but yes.
Yeah. The bookkeeper gets all the stuff ready to give to the accountant.
Right,
Yeah. It's like, I guess you could put it like doctors and nurses. The doctor walks in, looks at the chart and goes, okay, but the nurse did all the work.
right. The nurse is
you're
the one you want to make friends with.
Yeah,
The
and
nurse did
like
all the work.
in our cleaning business, when you think about it, we come into cleaning with our ideal customer.
Right,
We pay attention to our ideal customer. We brush off our non-ideal customers because they're not coming for what we serve. And then we have the high ticket customers that we're trying to work towards. And it's the same hierarchy with the bookkeeper, the accountant, the CPA.
Mhm.
They have their ideal customers. So us as cleaning companies go in for a CPA and we're making $100,000 only,
right,
right?
right.
Are they really serving us, or are they just signing off on our books? Are they helping us? But when you have a bookkeeper that's there with you, we all make the same amount that we pay attention to each other's items, you know?
Totally. Stop it. Well, you can see the anomaly. Sorry, my dog is 18 and sometimes he just barks at whatever is going on. And then there was a loud bump. So hopefully my children are not jumping off of the bed.
One,
Go ahead.
go ahead. One
Go-
difference I do, a lot of bookkeepers don't do is like, okay, I service a lot of farmers. I help a lot of farmers get small businesses, right? So I will actually go out to their farm and walk around with them on their property and look at things in their property. Hey man, I know we're just doing the books, but this thing is costing you money over here. You know, and a bookkeeper usually doesn't do that, but I'm also a farmer. And
Right.
those are the clients that I service, a lot of them. And I try to show them ways to save money or make their things that they're using a little more efficient. You know, they might be thinking, oh, I don't need to buy that extra 2-inch pump because whatever. But they're sitting there cranking with a little hand pump forever. I'm like, well,
Oh
he
my
can just turn on the pump, you know. So I'll actually go out to them. The water pump.
It's I'm laughing because you can see that the bigger picture, right? That's what the whole thing is. And not everyone sees the bigger picture because they can't see past, they can't see past what's going on. So they're pumping. I can just picture that totally.
Yeah. On a pitcher pump.
On a pitcher pump. Plus it's hard physical labor. I mean, to have to manually pump I don't know how, I know most people, I haven't been on a farm in years, but having to manually pump water is a lot of work. It's nothing like in the movies, where they throw the bucket in the well and they, turn it up and
fill it back up.
yeah, and it's clean water. It's not clean water. It's
And
sitting down there.
One thing that side effect happened of me visiting other farmers and talking to them and doing their stuff for them, I inadvertently became like the contact person between all of them. So that farmer asked me a question. I said, hey, I know somebody that can help you from another farm.
Right.
So they would have never contacted each other. I became like that referral in between all of these farmers that wouldn't have, in the normal course of their days, they would have never met or had anything to do with each other.
That's awesome. I love collaboration, and relationships are so important now, especially when we're not meeting face to face.
Yeah.
I think it's more important now than ever before, definitely.
Because I need to get a fence fixed. You know a fencing guy? I'm like, yes, I do know a fencing guy.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Shell, I know you're sitting there quietly. Do you have any questions? We never got back to any of the other people before it went down. Maybe
they probably did like what I did. They went off and worked.
Probably. It was like frustrating.
I'm actually working like, I don't know if I can tell you. So what's in the background? But right there. I'm working on
I didn't
QuickBooks.
have any questions. I was just watching and absorbing everything.
Oh, perfect. I wasn't sure if you had a special question that needed to be addressed or not. There's nothing like hogging the show. I can talk and talk and talk, but it's more interesting to have people ask questions. So wanted to
sure.
make
I do
sure.
have one question.
Oh, perfect.
Is there
What is
a
it?
place you can go to learn about bookkeeping, or do you need to go to a college?
Actually, Intuit, QuickBooks itself will actually give you classes for free.
Okay.
They will give you classes for free. Even within their, even if you don't sign up for their service, they still have certain limited classes that'll give you basic bookkeeping things.
Okay.
And within QuickBooks itself, it has all these tutorials and videos. I was going to show you guys. So who doesn't remember the desktop? Yeah, QuickBooks desktop.
Oh,
Still
yeah,
exists.
I remember that version.
No, they brought it back, and that's the scary part.
Oh, wow. So it must
That's
have
what-
really worked then.
No, that's what online looks like now. I am
Mine looks a
terrified
little
of
bit
that.
different.
I'm terrified of that old version, but they brought it back.
That's awesome.
I love this version because it has so many features that you can't get. Like she used to use QuickBooks self-employed, and then she goes, "What is all these other things?" I'm like, "The rest of it."
Would you like to add on this service? How about this service? What about that service?
I don't have to add on anything. It's already there. There's no
And
add-ons.
now I'm going back to it, and I have to go add all of my chart accounts because I like to see forecast what I did 5 years before and what I'm doing 5 years from now. I want to see what January is going to look like and what July looks like last year, so I can predict how to staff this year during
Definitely.
that time. But Andre, is there a link that you can share with us, with Shannon, that you can send her so she can share it back on the group for the other ladies to watch some of the QuickBook videos?
Let me see. This QuickBooks.
If you can't find something, I might be able to dig up something. I had no idea. So that is actually awesome to have them ask. So Adam, how many girls do you have, or guys, how many helpers do you have with you?
I have 3 that works for me in Atlanta, and I have 3 that works for me in Florida.
So you have one location in you have boots on the ground in Atlanta and then boots on the
Yes.
ground in Florida.
I sure do.
So it's 3 and 3 because it cut out.
Yeah. It's 3 and 3 both, but I hire as needed. Like, I don't keep staff around because, you know, the way that COVID went, I've learned how to utilize, TaskRabbit. If I need an extra person to come in, I will go to TaskRabbit and hire out for the client that's coming in on a deep clean, but not on my residential recurring, but on those one-time service. I've learned how to use those gig services.
Because you may never see him again.
Yeah, because the one-time deep cleans, property managers.
So are you 1099ing everybody, or are you W2?
I do. I 1099 everybody. And my
That's how
son
I
works
do it.
for me too. My son works for me, and I 1099 him when he was under 18. 12,500 this year is his cap. Because he's under 18, 12,500 is the new cutoff for hiring
900.
family. So
Right.
I don't pay taxes on his 1099 for his 12,000.
That makes
And
it nice.
Yes, and I also, Andre told me, hey, why don't you open up a Roth IRA for him now and put his max inside of it so that way it doesn't affect his college and everything like that. And I'm like, really? So I ended up getting a Roth IRA for him. So he puts half of his income into that. So his tuition and stuff like that is not affected with the little money that he does earn.
So that's only if they're under 18?
That's
Yes,
awesome.
if they're under 18, you open a Roth IRA.
Did it cut out again?
for-
Darn it.
Can you hear me?
I can. I don't know if she can.
Okay, yeah, the Roth IRA is not the Roth IRA, but the tax the tax incentives for hiring your children is for under 18.
Okay,
So I have my
They
13-year-old
still-
daughter. She helps to go clean maintenance houses on the weekends. So I make sure I document her hours that she goes and she helps me work. She gets her fair wage. And at the end of the year, every year the amount changes from the IRS. You got to find out how much that is, but I pay her. And I pay her the correct way. So that way her income is valid. My tax write-off is valid.
do they have to have a work permit where you
Okay.
live for under or for under 18?
I think you need to check on the IRS, but I don't believe because they're family.
Okay,
Okay, Andre
Like-
said no.
For farm labor and stuff, if you own a farm in Florida, I think it's anywhere in the United States, your children can work on your farm.
And your
No.
children can work in your cleaning company too, or they can work in your office. They can do your social media management.
It has to be considered non-hazardous jobs. Like you can't have them working at, spraying certain chemicals, and you can't have them operating heavy equipment. It has to be jobs where they won't get killed.
Yeah, and you can't let them go wash your car and say they're working for your company, unless you specifically hire them to detail wash all of your company vehicles on a specific day every week, and you actually pay them for those laborious hours, then they're working for you. But you can't have them clean your family car and say you're working for me. It's a difference because it is, at the end of the day, it's an IRS thing that we are embarking on, and we're using our write-offs for that. So we got to make sure we treat our children as regular employees, not employees. Yeah, employees, not contractors, employees. Difference. I had to learn that, Shannon, the difference between employees and contractors, and never call your contractors employees because they're not.
now the
Right.
Roth IRA, is that the one that takes the taxes out before, or you're taxed after you put it in?
After.
After you put it in? Okay,
Yeah, the traditional
After-
IRA, when they take the taxes out of front.
okay.
And then if you have kids and you're going to exceed certain income guidelines for college, like you wouldn't qualify for Pell grants and stuff, you might as well just put the money in a Coverdell account. Or Florida, we have something called Florida prepaid. So if you're making more money, where you have to look at what Pell grants would cut them off at. I don't know what every state does. I don't know what state you're from.
West
but Florida,
Virginia.
we have your state. Every state probably has something similar, where they have the prepaid college funds, and parents and grandparents are allowed to contribute a certain amount of money per year, and then the money can only be used back by the child. I know the Florida prepaid, if that child doesn't use it, that child could pass it on to another person. And it pays for college and trade schools in Florida. And a lot of people don't push trade schools. They're all pushing college. And we got all these doctors and lawyers, and nobody can change the damn light bulb.
Well, most of your trade schools, they don't have to pay. They go in as a journey or as an apprentice.
Well, they have a few trade schools here in Florida where they would learn like welding and stuff like that, carpentry
Right.
work. They got a couple of them here because a lot of people aren't taking on, like, a lot of kids don't want to go sometimes work somewhere and not get paid anything because they got phone bills and Fortnite.
Yeah.
Games that they want to play.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Oshel, am I
that's-
saying that correctly? Oshel?
Yes, you said it correct.
Oh, well, yay. Any other questions you have?
Not that I can think of.
Gotcha.
Was this recorded? Because I missed
Well, we've been
the first half hour.
Yes, she did record it. She recorded in 2 separate sessions.
Okay.
Because we got cut out the first time, but I think she's gonna merge them together.
And then it will be on the Facebook page.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have an accountant? Do you work with a bookkeeper, or do you do your own books right now?
No, I've just been watching this. I'm in the middle of getting a divorce, so I'm just looking at my options and what to do. So I have followed the cleaning to see, and also to learn how to take out my own stains and what works best.
Yes, I agree. And I'm sorry about the divorce.
Oh, it's for the best. I'm just right. It's been almost 3 years, and it's still not
Gotcha.
final.
Okay, well, you know what? Everything is for its best, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna do a really good job at it. But if you're going into a divorce, I would say talk to a bookkeeper for your business and your
Yeah.
finances. They will help you with your what's coming up.
Well, I learned. I mean, I had heard of bookkeeping, and I know you're accountants, but I didn't realize that you actually need a bookkeeper to prepare for the accountant.
Yep.
I just
I mean,
didn't think about that.
yeah, if you can do it on your own, like I said at the beginning, when we all start our business, we wear all of our hats and we decide what we're good at and what we're bad at with the hats that we wear. For me, I liked controlling my finances and knowing how I was spending my money. So
Yes.
I had to learn the basics of spending my money in my company, and then everything outside of those hats that the math is not mathing for me, it goes over to my bookkeeper, because I'm spending money or I'm into subscriptions that I don't know that I'm paying for, because not only do I run my cleaning company now, but I have my own startup farm. I have my own plant nurseries, and I'm getting into a lot more this year, which takes away from me sitting there staring at my books all day long.
Right.
So it all depends. If you have the time, learn it and get with your bookkeeper to help you put it all together at the end of the month. So if you're going to start a business, know your numbers. That's the number one thing you need to know, your numbers. What are you
Yes.
going into with? What numbers are you going into it with? And at the end of the 12 months, what numbers are you going to come out with? And then next year, what are you going to look forward to? And my personal goal has always been, I started out, whatever I make this year, I'm doubling it. Whatever I made the next year, I'm doubling it. So I started out with my first year, 22,000. My second year was 44,000. My third year, and I've been doubling. And this year it's been, it was a lot last year, not this year, but last year I did a lot. I did great last year, but I also did great last year being home preparing for the new farm and my new plant nursery and all the other stuff that I'm doing, because I learned my numbers so I can do the things that I wanted to do. And the accountant guy helps me do all of that stuff.
Andre, do you have a Facebook page about farming?
Yes, I do have Facebook for farm and for our bookkeeping business as well.
Do you care to share it with me so that I
Yeah,
could join that? Because we have a small farm,
Oh, yay.
and that would help with learning, because there's depreciation on equipment, your feed, your minerals, all that stuff.
What kind of farm do you guys have?
We have cattle.
Trying to
Oh yeah,
find-
I used to have 4 cows. Now I have 3 because our hurricane, one of our cows, our boy cow, got lost.
Oh,
Man,
And now we have 3 girls left and we need a boy. My son told me, Mom, I think one of your girl cow is a stud.
Love how nature happens.
He was like, well, this is what happens when you put 3 girls together and no boys.
artificial insemination.
That is too funny. Well, I don't want to take up everyone's time. I really do appreciate the both of you attending and answering my questions. I'll try to stream the video together. My internet sucked. Learning lessons on this one for sure. Adama, if you want to come on separately another time and talk about your 2 locations, because I've had people ask me about that.
Okay.
I've had 2 locations, but not in 2 different states. I've had one area here, and then we cover the actual whole state now. So that's a different type of boots on the ground, but you do run something from 2 different states. If you were interested in coming on and doing a Q&A session for a lot of the other girls who have these questions, that would be awesome as well.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, beautiful. I
Yeah.
don't want to, yeah, we're way over an hour. I think we're at an hour and like 20 minutes. So I don't
20
want to,
minutes, yeah.
I don't want to take up all your
Okay,
time, and I appreciate it.
Andre,
I-
can you paste that one more time? I didn't catch it when I tried to take a picture.
Oh,
Your
here,
Facebook page.
I'll put it back in the, there we go. In the messages. It's in the messages.
Well, I can't see the I'm technically challenged.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I
didn't-
just found the text message. I just found the message chat.
Well, where's the message chat at?
It's actually right under it. It's all the way at the bottom where you say mute and the stop video. Then it says participant and then it says chat.
Mine
That's
just
different
says
if you're not
more.
on an iPad. It's different if you're on an
No,
iPad.
I'm not
Oh.
on an iPad. I'm just on my cell phone.
Okay, well, his farm page is Corsbie, spelled like his last name, Corsbies.
Corsbies.
Yes, Corsbie's Poultry
Okay.
Farm.
Okay.
And that's his website and his Facebook page for his
Okay.
farm.
Yes, I would like to look at that.
Okay.
Beautiful. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you all. You guys have a great evening.
You
And
too.
hopefully-
hopefully we
Enjoy.
can chat
Thank
again.
you.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.